Hello, Mooncrafters. Welcome. This is Craft a Moon. I'm Ryan Hunt, your host for today. I'm a counseling astrologer, a coach for life and career, and a psychedelic integration guide. If you're interested in any of those things, please feel free to connect on my website. As for this video, go ahead and like and subscribe if you're interested in staying connected and getting up to date on future videos like these. Today, we are going to be talking about the full moon in Scorpio. That the full moon is today, May 1st, for those of you who are tuning into this. And so we'll be covering that in the video coming up. And I'm also releasing 7 more videos that go beyond this to talk about the full moon in Scorpio in general, because today is Vesak, a special holiday for Buddhists. It's also Beltane. So go ahead and follow on for those. You can find the playlist on my website, and let's go ahead and jump into it. All right, so I have a video montage that's going to be going during this recording, simply because I have a skin condition going on my face that causes me to touch it and play with my face all the time. It's a pretty routine treatment, but anyway, so going to be dealing with that. But today I wanted to talk about the full moon in Scorpio. And before we start with that, I just kind of wanted to reconnect us with something that happened just 19 days ago. On April 11th, the Artemis II crew splashed down safely in the Pacific. Reed Wiseman, Victor Glover, Christina Koch, and Canada's Jeremy Hansen. They flew around the moon and came back home. The first humans to orbit the moon, to go to the moon, since Apollo over 50 years ago. For a moment there, the entire world had its eye on the moon. NASA's astronauts had just set a distance from Earth record on April 6th, traveling further into space than any human in decades. And then, just days later, on April 17th at dawn, the new moon rose in Aries, the seed of this entire lunation cycle. The moon has been on our minds, but more than that, the moon has been on a journey. And you've been riding that journey with her, whether you knew it or not. This video is your map. This is the story of where the moon has been, where it's taken you, and where she is taking you now, and what awaits for you on the other side. Again, before we go deeper, if this kind of guidance speaks to you, I'd love for you to hit the like button and subscribe. It helps these messages reach people who are in need of them. It lets the algorithm know that this kind of subject matter is important. And if you're new here, then welcome. You can subscribe and ring the notification bell so that you don't miss any of the upcoming videos in this series. Let me paint you a picture. 14 days ago, on April 17th, the moon and the sun met in Aries, at the very end of that fire sign. This is the new moon, the seed moment of every lunation. It's where the moon disappears from the sky because she's standing between us and the sun. Invisible, dark, full of potential. Aries is all about courage and spark. It's the sign that says, go, start, ignite. The cycle began with that fierce beginning. Within hours, the moon slipped out of Aries and into Taurus. This is the drop from fire into earth, from urgency into stillness. The moon, newly seeded, enters the sign of the body, the senses, the ground beneath your feet. Taurus wants to feel to taste, to settle in. This is where the story of gathering begins. And then just over a day later, on April 18th, the moon met Venus in Taurus. This is a conjunction. The moon's body touching another planet, drawing its light into herself. Venus is the planet of love, beauty, and ease. The moon at this point is waxing, pulling light toward fullness. When she meets Venus in Taurus, she gathers that soft energy. She absorbs Venus's gifts, the ability to slow down, to value what's around you, to recognize beauty in simple things. That moment you felt suddenly tender towards something small, a bird singing, the way light hit a wall, the taste of good food, that was the moon collecting the light of Venus. The next morning, April 19th, the moon met Uranus, also in Taurus. Uranus is the awakener, the lightning strike, the sudden shift, the planet of sudden illumination and technological breakthrough. The moon, still in Taurus, still grounded, drew Uranus into herself and collected the electricity, the jolt of clarity. That moment when you see something different completely than what you ever had before. An unexpected insight, a conversation that changed your understanding, a new possibility you hadn't considered. That was the moon integrating Uranus. She's gathered both softness and awakeness, both comfort and electricity by this point, both the known and the breakthrough. This is the genius of the lunation. The moon doesn't discriminate. She takes what comes. She holds contradiction. She's large enough to contain Venus and Uranus at once. Then the moon entered Gemini. Curiosity bloomed. Questions began to rise. Words became more interesting. Communication opened. The gathering continued as she moved through Gemini's quick, inquiring energy. If you found yourself more chatty, more curious, more asking deeper questions of people around you, that wasn't the moon, or that was the moon in Gemini, calling you to listen and to speak. This is the sign of the messenger, the storyteller, the one who connects dots and sees patterns. By April 21st, the moon had moved into Cancer, her own sign, her home. And this matters because when the moon is in Cancer, she is at her most comfortable, most powerful in a certain way. She's home. She knows these waters. Cancer is the sign of nurture, family, the roots you come from, the belonging you need. It's the sign of the mother, of protection, of caring for what is vulnerable. And on April 22nd, around 3:52 in the afternoon, the moon met Jupiter in Cancer. Jupiter is the great benefic, the planet of blessing, expansion, generosity, hope. Jupiter in Cancer is especially nurturing. It's the planet of abundance, meeting the sign of home. The moon in her own sign, meeting Jupiter. This is one of the most nourishing moments of the entire cycle. The moon has been collecting light from Venus and Uranus, from softness and electricity, from curiosity and home. And now at this point in her journey, she receives Jupiter's grace. She gathers blessing into herself, a sense of ease, of being held, of things opening. If you felt a moment of true hope, of things breaking through, of being genuinely cared for in those days, that was Jupiter speaking through the moon's waxing light. The moon continued her climb through Leo and Virgo. The light grows visibly now. Anyone looking up would be able to see the moon's face swelling night by night. First quarter moon, the half light, the gathering energy becoming visible in the sky. By April 28th, the moon had entered Libra, the sign of the other, of relationship, of balance. She's moving toward her opposition with the sun now. She's leaning toward the moment when she'll be full, which is happening today. And then on April 30th, she stepped into Scorpio, where the sign she's in right now, the deep waters, the sign of transformation, of what's hidden, of power itself. Scorpio is where the moon must dive deep, where she can't stay comfortable. This is the descent. This is where the gathering stops and the showing what you have gathered begins. So at this point, I want to say that the rest of the videos that I'm going to be releasing for this full moon in Scorpio are about this condition, about the moon being full in Scorpio, because it is Vesak. It is the day that a huge population of the world, the Buddhists all around the world of every tradition, celebrate the birth, enlightenment, and death of the Buddha. Some traditions celebrate the birth and death on different days, but all of them tie the Enlightenment Day to the full moon in Scorpio. It's today, May 1st. The moon and sun, they stand in opposition today. At her maximum light, full, everything she's gathered, Venus's softness, Uranus's electricity, Jupiter's blessing, the curiosity, the connection to home, the climb through the fire and earth and air, all of it arrives at this moment. All of it concentrates into the moon's full face, shining into the deep waters of Scorpio. This is the full moon in Scorpio. And something else is happening at this moment around the world. In Colombia, Sri Lanka, California, Japan, in Thailand, and communities everywhere, Buddhists are lighting lanterns for this day that we just talked about. They're sharing vegetarian meals. They're setting animals free for life release. They're offering acts of generosity. All on the same day today in one complete arc. The light in the darkness, the awakening in the void, the ultimate compassion, the Buddha's passing into complete release, and the full moon holds that energy too. Light shining into the deepest places, illumination of what's hidden, compassion meeting the hard truth. The full moon in Scorpio doesn't come gently. Scorpio is a sign that demands you see. It demands honesty about power, about desire, about control, and what controls you. The full moon is the most visible moment of the month, and she's sitting in the sign of what is most hidden. This tension is the message. What have you been avoiding? What's beneath the surface? What power dynamic has you caught? After the full moon peaks today, you move into the waning phase. The light begins to drain from the moon's face, but the work isn't over. In fact, the real work, the transformation work, begins now. By May 2nd, the moon enters Sagittarius, beginning the disseminating phase. She's still bright, but no longer swelling. She's entering the phase of giving back, of returning what she gathered. And the cycle tells you something crucial. You don't need to keep what you gathered just for yourself. The moon's job in the waning half is to scatter light back into the world. But first, she has to let it go. She has to learn the difference between holding and releasing. By May 5th, the moon moves into Capricorn, the sign of structure and time and accountability. By May 8th, the moon has moved into Aquarius, the sign of the collective, of groups, of the future. And around 11:30 in the morning, the moon on that day meets Pluto. Pluto is the transformer, the lord of the underworld, the force that tears down what no longer works, that composts old patterns into soil, that demands you face death and rebirth. Pluto is slow and relentless. Pluto doesn't just ask permission, Pluto transforms. The moon, in her disseminating phase, meets Pluto. This is your window of release. This is where you surrender what you gathered, not in a passive way. You're choosing. You're releasing what you no longer serves you. The anger that was sitting in your chest, the resentment that's been binding you, the desires that felt like they controlled your peace, the limiting beliefs you've been carrying, the shame you've been hiding, Pluto offers you the power to let go, to choose freedom, to shed what's old. Pluto says, you don't have to carry this anymore. You can burn it, you can bury it, you can transform it into something else's entirely. You can choose freedom. In the days before the moon meets Pluto, sit with yourself, journal, ask the hard questions. What am I holding that I could release? What pattern is ready to die? What old fear is still living in my body? What resentment am I carrying that doesn't even belong to me anymore? Don't judge it. Don't try to fix it. Just observe it with honesty. Name it. Say it out loud if you can. The naming is the first step toward release. Then on May 8th, if you want to mark it energetically, do a ritual of release. Write down what you're letting go. Write it as specifically as you can. Not just anger, but the particular anger you've been carrying. Not just fear, but the specific fear that wakes you up at night. Then safely burn it. Bury it in soil. Scatter it to the winds. Do something physical. Let your body and mind witness the choice you're making. This is power. This is reclaiming your energy from the things that have held you. Between May 8th and May 16th, the next new moon, the moon continues her disseminating work. She passes through Pisces and then back into Aries and Taurus, moving fast, returning to where she started. And in those 8 days, more work happens. On May 10th, the moon enters Pisces. This is where compassion lives. This is the sign of dissolution of boundaries, dissolving of universal love, and the sign of mystic and healer alike. The sign that says we are all connected. And by May 12th, the moon has moved into Aries and begins meeting the planets that cluster there. Neptune, Saturn, Mars. This is the final stretch of the waning cycle. On May 12th, around 11:20 at night, the moon meets Neptune in Aries. Neptune is the mystic, the dreamer, the planet of dissolution and dreams. The moon is handing Neptune what she's ready to release that isn't going to crystallize into form this cycle, the visions, the possibilities that won't become real, the dreams that are meant to remain dreams. Neptune takes them and dissolves them back into the ocean of potential. This is not failure. This is necessary. Not everything that begins needs to manifest. Some things are meant to teach you in the dreaming, not in the doing. And I'm saying this as someone who has been doing a lot of writing. And in fact, this cycle of videos that I'm publishing, these 7 that are going to be in the series, this one and the 7 that are come beyond it, are the result of writing that I had set intention to at the last full moon in Scorpio. And I've done so much writing since then. I've written, in the last several years, I've written like 4, maybe 5 manuscripts for different books that I had the intention to have published. I'm working on a novel right now. The South Node hit my sun, and I've just been involved in this, intense path of creativity and energy. And, I just have to kind of remember these things for myself too, that just because I've started, so many projects, it doesn't mean that I have to bring them all to fruition. So this is just kind of advice that I'm giving to myself as well as to you all. So you can take it with a grain of salt if you like. But on May 13th, around 11:10 in the morning, the moon meets Saturn in Aries. Saturn is the elder, the structure builder, the one who asks, is this real? Is this lasting? Is this work the work? Saturn brings discipline to dreams. The moon meets Saturn and is asked to decide what is actually worth keeping, what gets to become real. The moon is the manifester. She is the last layer of manifestation. And I think it's in the first of these 7 videos I talk about that, or maybe it's the second that I talk about the descent of the celestial spheres. And if you want, you can head over to my website, and the link will be in the description below to check out that book. It's about 177 pages that deals specifically with the full moon in Scorpio, the difference between the Vedic and the tropical interpretations of that. It brings in Buddhist concepts because it's the Buddha moon. And I think I haven't found any place, any book, any website, or any kind of thing that brings all this information together into a single place. So hopefully, if you're interested in it, you can head over there and pick it up. You can buy it for as low as $1. It's kind of like choose your own price for the book. But Saturn, back to Saturn and the moon. Saturn is clarifying, and Saturn says no to what isn't essential. Saturn asks, can you keep showing up for this? Do you have the stamina? Are you serious? This is the work of maturity. This is where the moon learns to be responsible for what she birthed. On May 14th, around the 2:30 in the afternoon, the moon meets Mars in Aries. And again, these times are all in Pacific times because I'm in Berkeley, California. But Mars is the warrior, the drive, the fierce energy, the impulse to act. The moon, nearly dark now, nearly a sliver, meets Mars. She takes that fire and burns what's left. The last of the cycle's energy ignites. The last of what needs to go goes now. And Mars says, move, act, speak your truth. And if you paid attention to my 5 cosmic catalysts on Nadia Shah's Synchronicity University that I delivered earlier this year, you'll remember that I was telling everybody that Mars is going to be direct all year long. And it's important to keep in mind that is the case. The energy of Mars being direct all year long is very intense, and we need to remind ourselves to take breaks from that. This is the final push of the old cycle before the new seed falls. And here's the crucial thing. Between releasing with Pluto and this final burn with Mars, something has shifted inside of us. You've let go. You've been asked what's real, what lasts, what matters. You've dissolved what doesn't belong. You've said no to what isn't essential. You've burned away the complacency. And now, on May 16th, the new cycle begins. The new moon. The new moon. So we had the new moon. Now we're in the full moon, and we're going to have another new moon. But this time it's going to be in Taurus. Then on May 16th, the moon and the sun, they meet again in Taurus. The seed of the new cycle falls into the earth, into the body, into what's lasting, the senses. This isn't fire like it was in April. This is ground, earth. This is root. This is the promise that what you're building next will be grounded, will be real, will have a body. Taurus says, this will endure. This will be real. This will matter. And then immediately at 6:02 in the evening on the same day, the moon meets Mercury in Taurus. Think about words, ideas, thoughts, communication. The new cycle begins with the capacity to speak what you know, to name what you're building. Mercury in Taurus is careful speech, grounded words, words that are true and measured. The moon gathers Mercury into the seed. You will be able to speak what you've learned. You will be able to communicate the transformation. Then the moon enters Gemini, and something else shifts in the broader sky. We're at the very edge of a major astrological event. Uranus, the Awakener, the planet of the future. Excuse me, hold on a second. I have a tickle in my throat. Yeah, so Uranus, the Awakener, who is in the very beginning of Gemini. This is the first time in 84 years that the moon meets Uranus and Gemini again. So it was 84 years ago when Uranus entered Gemini. And this time when the moon meets Uranus is the time is the first time the moon and Uranus are meeting together. We can think back then, television was being invented. The space race was beginning. The internet didn't exist. The world is about to shift again in ways we can't even yet predict. On May 16th at 9:16 in the evening, the moon meets Uranus in Gemini. The very first time, the very start of the next chapter. The lightning strike meets the beginning of a new era. The future is being born in this moment. The next time, I mean, we're talking about when the moon next meets Uranus in Gemini, towards the middle to end of May. This is saying that the next 84 years are being seeded now. This is where the complete lunation cycle closes and opens. From the fierce courage of Aries in April 17th to the grounded earth of Taurus on May 16th, from gathering through Venus, Uranus, and Jupiter to releasing through Pluto, Neptune, Saturn, and Mars. From the illumination of the full moon in Scorpio to the seed of the new beginning in Taurus, from where you were to where you're going. So what does this lunation ask of you? It's a complete story, a complete cycle of transformation. The waxing half is gathering. You're pulling in light, in blessing, in clarity, in the gifts of the planets. You're building energy. You're swelling towards fullness. Then the peak. The full moon shows you were the real power, where the real power dynamics are, what's hidden, and what you've been avoiding. When the waning half is the mirror, you're returning to what you've gathered. You're learning the difference between holding and releasing. You're discovering that the light doesn't belong to you alone. Your job is to receive it, to integrate it, and then to send it back into the world, transformed, changed by your body, by your experience, and by your choices. And you learn something else. Between release and the new seed, there's a moment of choosing. You get to decide what you carry forward. You get to decide what pattern is ready to die. You get to stand in the work of real transformation, not just the feeling, but doing the work. That's what Saturn asks. That's what the structure builder demands, and that's what the commitment means. This lunation is a gift. It's a complete teaching in the span of 28 days. You don't need anyone to tell you the meaning. Your body knows the meaning. Your life knows the tensions you've been feeling, the clarity you've wanted, the things you've been ready to let go of. All of is being offered a pathway right now. So here's your practice. Track the moon this month. When she's waxing, gather, receive, be open to the gifts coming towards you. Notice what makes you feel blessed. Notice what awakens you. Notice what feels real and grounded. Let yourself fill with light. Write it down. Keep a small journal. Watch the moon at nights and you can see her face grow. Pay attention to the days when she meets Venus, Uranus, Jupiter. Those are all days to notice. Those are the days the gifts are flowing. When she's waning, the work changes. Release. And we're at the beginning of the waning cycle now. So this is what you need to pay attention to for the next 2 weeks. Journal what you're ready to let go. Do the ritual on May 8th when she meets Pluto. Speak your truth with Mars on May 14th. Let the fire burn away what's old. Do something physical. Dance. Go for a run. Move the stagnant energy out of your body. By the time May 16th arrives and the new seed falls in Taurus, you'll be ready. You'll have room for something new. You'll have earned the ground. And one more thing to hold, because this is May of 2026, and because the Artemis mission just reminded us of how close the moon really is, pay attention to the night sky this month. Really look. See her now, tonight, in her fullness. Then watch her as she wanes. See her disappear and be reborn. The outer journey mirrors the inner one. What you're doing internally this month is part of a much larger story, a species remembering our connection to the moon, the world watching as humans return to lunar orbit, a planet waking up to possibilities we thought were impossible. You're part of that. Your transformation is part of that. Your willingness to do inner work ripples outwards. One person releasing what no longer serves, one person gathering light, one person learning to speak their truth. This changes the field. This shifts the collective. This matters more than you know. If you want to take this deeper, consider booking a personal session. You can find the links to my website below. You can buy the book that talks about the full moon in Scorpio. This is useful for every year. Every year the moon will be full in Scorpio once a year. So it's a good reminder for us. If you do want to book a session with me, I can show you exactly where this lunation or the next one is going to be landing in your chart, which areas of your life are being asked to transform, what your own path forward looks like in your particular story, and where your own North Node is pointing. You can find me at www.ryan-hunt.com and book time that works for you. I'd love to meet you there and walk you through your chart together. And please drop a comment below. Tell me what you're gathering, what you're releasing, what the moon is meaning for you this cycle. What does the full moon in Scorpio illuminate for you? How is it waking you up? The fact that you're here, that you're paying attention, that you're willing to work with these rhythms instead of fighting them, that matters. And that's how the moon changes, one breath of awareness at a time. So until next time, keep your eye on the sky and make a wish upon a star.